Good morning, my brothers and sisters. I'm here because you're my family, and you've proven it without a doubt. So I love all of you.
Speaking to the mic.
The thought for the day is,
I don't think I heard you.
do I have to?
You don't have to.
Okay.
There was a
I guess I
little
do
voice
for.
back there, though.
Oh, for what?
You need to bring Wes up here where he can hear.
No, okay, I'll use it. No problem.
Chairs.
The thought for the day is, I don't like to use this microphone. The thought for the day is, a winner is just a loser who tried one more time. That's what it's all about. Don't give up. Keep trying. 10 years ago, our daughter lived in Woburn, England. That's about an hour north of London. And Rachel and I had the good fortune of going over and visiting her. And our daughter would make a very good tour guide. So she had trips planned for us the whole time we were there, 2 weeks. And one trip was on a restored steam engine in coaches from the 1940s with silverware, china, the whole 9 yards, tables, and we thoroughly enjoyed that. And we went up to Stratford-on-Avon and paid our last respects to Shakespeare. So, and one time we went to a church that where the ship captain that wrote Amazing Grace went to church, and we saw the original copy, handwritten copy of Amazing Grace. So it was special. Little town of Woburn she lived in was a beautiful little town, and joining it on the south side of Woburn was an abbey, and an abbey is where the what was he called? Right? He was called the Duke of Bedford, and it was about, I would guess, 500 acres. I couldn't find on Google how big it was, but it's a huge place. And in England, that's a lot of land, because most people just have a little place big enough for the house, because they got to use all that extra land to grow food. It's a very small country. But it's about 500 acres. They had a safari grounds there where they had lions and tigers and not kangaroos, but zebras and giraffes and all kind of antelopes. So it was great to visit that place. And those people lived in opulence that we can only imagine. And I was thinking, as I was visiting the place, how they lived and how people lived just 1,000 miles away, with no house at all. And that house was as big as the soccer field out here. I mean, it was a humongous place with Rolls Royces and all that all around. So Woburn was a good place, and we had a good time visiting our daughter. And she lived right on Main Street. You could look out our living room window and see the people mulling around on Main Street. And a small town, a pub, of course, and a little grocery store across the street, and post office, that sort of thing, antique shops. And just down the street, cattywampus across from downtown, was a church, a beautiful church building. I don't know what went on inside, but it's a beautiful church building. And the guy that lived between the downtown area and the church building must have been at least a second cousin twice removed from this Duke of Bedford, because his house was much bigger than most people's in town. And so one morning, the vicar, which is the pastor of the Church of England, which is the official church of England, was walking to that church, to where Sunday services. And the Duke of Bedford's last name is Russell, so this guy who lived in that big house before he got to church was Russell, Mr. Russell. And he was an old English gentleman out in the front yard working in his flower garden, down on his hands full of weeds and going on. And the vicar walks up to him and says, Can't you hear those church bells calling you to church? He said, eh? He said, can't you hear those church bells calling you to church? He said, I'm afraid you're going to speak louder. He says, speak a little louder. So the vicar says, can't you hear those church bells calling you to church? And he said, I'm sorry, vicar, I can't hear a bloody thing for those bells.
Very cute.